Hey guys, this is Richard here, and I've got Samplitude Studio back open here. And I had some questions on YouTube being asked about using um, like the quantizing features on Samplitude Studio. Now, I don't know a massive amount of stuff on quantizing and that sort of thing, but I do recall using a lot of it way back in the 80s when we had Cakewalk and the with the old DOS computers that we used to use back then. And I had stopped using MIDI for a long time, and then just when I started getting to the Magic stuff, I brought out the old controllers and that sort of thing, and started using it. You can see that I have some tracks here. You're saying kick, crash, snare. These were actually taken from the actual instruments, and I changed them into I rendered them into becoming audio files instead, because I like to use the audio capabilities of this after I have the MIDI signal converted. So when I quantize all this stuff from the signal, what I end up doing is just using the standard quantizing. So I'll show you sort of what I do here. I'm going to kill this kick over here for this song, and I've been working on this one for quite a few days. That's why I haven't been posting anything lately. So if you can hear that, that's me pressing the kick. So what I usually do is put the click on at the bottom here for this. This is at 144 beats per minute on this. This one won't sound too good, like it's not mixed at all. I should bring up the mixing deck here. I'll show you that this here shows you that all my levels are set straight across. You can see that I've got all these tracks here, bass line, the different guitars. There's like 3 different guitar tracks here, and rest of it is all kicks and snares and all drum pieces. So, and then at the end I made 3 auxiliary tracks at the end here. Way that you do that you create extra tracks is you go into here, and you can add tracks by inserting new tracks. You got the different kinds of tracks that you can use. I use the auxiliary tracks because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, as you can see, I've got kind of 2 sets of drum beats. One in this section here that ends at where about the number 1 is on my track here, and then it continues on, and this is, I actually go half the speed of my beats per minute, so it's 144 in the beginning here, but it cuts in half to 72 beats per minute at the end. But I decided not to actually do an actual time change in here, which you can do. You can designate a spot here and then change the time so that the metronome fires off differently, and everything graphed beyond here. If you use the snapping tools and graph, your snap will snap to the the 8th note or quarter note or whatever you have it set to, or full measure or whatever it is you have it set to snap to. It can do that, and it'll change the time and everything from that point onwards, wherever you have designated the time change. But in this case, it was a lot easier just to go ahead and go half time afterwards. Just by, instead of counting 1, 2, 3, 4, you count 1, 2, 3, 4 instead, and that's how we did the drum beats. I did the drums in the beginning here, and then I had Dwayne come in because he's a drummer. He actually drums, and I don't. And he came in and did the second half because I was kind of confused on how to do a drum beat over top of what I had concocted here on the guitars. So and there wasn't any reference. Like, I went back. This is kind of like a glam rock kind of a thing going on here with I don't know, woolly bully kind of a thing going on in the back end here at the last part. And there wasn't any reference to any, like, more like today's kind of sounding drums to that. So he went in there and he added his touch to it and created these tracks in the background. And the way that I do it on here, I don't record everything all at once. First thing I do is I record the kick, and then I record the snare. Like, I back up and start all over again, and on a new track start the snare, and then I go ahead and add the hi-hats pretty much on every beat. Dwayne uses 2 different hi-hat settings, I guess, on his or something. I only used one, and then we came in and did the crashes where they're supposed to come in and emphasize on everything. And you can learn a lot about drums this way, by listening to drum tracks and figuring out drums for yourself. So what I did over here on the one labeled keys, because this is just for an example, and what I did was I muted the kick section up here, so I'm just going to redo the kicks just so that you can see how I do this. And so my MIDI instrument preset, I'm going to go over to the drums and I'm going to pick the metal kit. So now we got a kick that sounds like that. I have pressure sensitive keys. Everybody's keyboard should be pressure sensitive anyways nowadays. That used to be a luxury back when we started. And I put the click track on. Okay, this is a MIDI track, so you can change the track type from MIDI to audio right here, or you can do it up over here, the track properties and all that stuff, and the options, track options, and all that sort of thing. So it's all here, MIDI or audio. You can switch them here, that sort of thing. Sometimes you have to fool around trying to get what's working right for you. Like, sometimes, like when I bring up the Y, sometimes my computer will decide not to work with ASIO for All version 2. It will decide to work with the latency and low latency driver instead. I don't know why. It'll work perfectly the next time or something, but and then every once in a while I'll have a situation with my audio devices where I won't be able to see my front input jacks on my computer. I'm using an old Windows XP, so there might be some kind of driver issues or something going on. So it has nothing to do with Samplitude itself. It's to do with my computer. So I end up always having to go in here and switching stuff around just so that I can figure out what's working today and what's not working today. So on occasions, ASIO will work with the ASIO for All, but right now it seems to be working best with the Magic's low latency setting. So I have that situated now, and we're just going to go ahead and start recording. I got my click track, click on. It's 4/4 timing. So just so you can hear what it sounds like, just to start off. Okay, everything's raw, so it's the raw sound right now. There's no EQing or anything done on this, or balancing whatsoever. So just to let you know, I haven't even cleaned up these tracks yet of their audio noises and artifacts, so we're going to do that as well. Okay, so let's not use that record. Let's delete that. Delete. So you can easily delete and bring back stuff. So I'm just going to go ahead and do something real simple. Okay, stop. So I'm going to use that recording because I'm going to, and I did it really sloppily, just on purpose. So it wasn't me trying to be perfect here. Whoop. Let's zoom in on the track here, so you can see it's varied, and you can see where the timing is going slightly out here. And it's not the best, kind of thing going on here. You can double click it and get a visual on it here on how things are put together inside the timeline. A little easier here, and you can tell this is all it's behind the beat and everything here. So not the best recording of MIDI, but you can go ahead and quantize it by clicking here. This will do a standard quantization. Okay, you can do it there, or you can right click on here, and there's a few items here. You can quantize first, and then you can humanize later, because you don't want to humanize this. This is already as humanized as possible. So by hitting this, this should standardize all the notes. So when you hear it now, it'll be, let me go ahead and put this on solo with some hi-hats and the snare and the crash and whatever. That'll be good enough. So you can just hear just the drum beats itself. So when we play it back, you can see that there was a miss right here. So sometimes quantizing it will go ahead and bring it to the wrong spot on your edit here. So there was a miss right here. So we'll just put the line there so we can see where it is, and double click on this. So I believe this has to be put over here. Okay. So all we do is grab and drag it. So let's go ahead and bring our timeline back here and play through again and hit the Okay, worked fine. So you can see you can easily just grab stuff, and I can make this actually a little longer if I wanted to. I could kill the snap in here and drag it as far as a piece that I want, or I can just go like this and go, whoop, say undo, Control Z, and say copy that, edit, copy, and then we'll go ahead and paste it right here. We'll go ahead and put our line here, and we'll go edit, paste. So now we have an exact duplicate of this last kick over here if we wanted to do it that way. Alright. Or you can go ahead and just draw. You can even draw a piece in there, but you don't want to do that because that would make a sound of I guess hitting the edge of the snare or something. So there you go. Cool, eh? So that's your quantizing in a nutshell there. Then you can humanize it, but this is already humanized because all the velocities are, whatever I had entered in as a signal from me pressing the key. So there you go. If you're using like your key like your actual typing keyboard, you can do that. You can use that as your keyboard, and of course you're only going to get in the signal of either it's pressed or not pressed. So then you would go ahead and use that humanizing on that, so that it varies the pressure sensitivity of the pressure of that signal and varies the velocity slightly, so it humanizes it. So you can very well use your typing keyboard and enter in the signal that way, and do that. Although I highly recommend just getting a cheap keyboard that has a MIDI in out, or just a MIDI out on it, just so that you can get the signal into your computer with like an Uno input to USB. Use something like that and go ahead and get your signal into there. Now what I did after I did this, I soloed the track, and then what I did was I went File, Export a Wav File. So what it does is it records what you have here, in this case the track that I have highlighted, as a solo, and this will be soloed out without anything else playing. So it'll just sound like, let's get back to the start. So it'll sound like this without the click track. Okay, and it'll record it like that. And wherever you have it recorded, that WAV file, you can go ahead and drag that back into Samplitude, into a track. And that's basically what I did with the above here. And these are all WAV files that I had re-entered back into the computer, because this will save you some headroom on your recording. It takes up some CPU power, and it'll indicate how much you're using at the bottom here when you're doing that. So this alleviates the computer from thinking, processing, and churning out, generating the signal for the instrument that you want to create. So right now I'm just going to delete this because I'm actually going to make a keyboard. I don't know. I think I might try a keyboard thing on this track, on this song. Now, once you have it in the audio here. You can go ahead and edit it using the wave editing. I believe you can also define your editing source if you got something else that you have that you want to use editing your wave files with. But I mean, I can just go in here with the wave editor and start messing around. I can use the pen tool and draw the volume curves or whatever I want to do, or it has a ton of options in here to do that, and I showed you that in the other video. There's also a thing in here where you can, I'll get out of this actually first, clicking that little X, that kind of freaked me out at first, when I first opened up Samplitude. Just to let you know, if you go in here and you edit by wave editing, all it's doing is putting a window in front of you here, in front of the actual Samplitude window with your tracks in it. So just click the X at the bottom here, and that'll close that. Also in here, you have where is it? Resampling and time stretching, I believe it is. Let me just check that. So there's a beat marker slicing that you can use, and it gives you a bunch of examples of what you should be using this on or what you shouldn't be using it on. Now with beats and this sort of thing, it's more or less a signal that says it's either on or off. It marks it like these little blips on your screen. This is easy to use that beat marker with and manipulate your signal. A guitar signal looks like this, which is not suitable for using that beat marker. Bass, this is a bass track here. This is a little bit more easier to use, although it's still, when you get over to here, I'm actually hitting multiple tones on the bass. I'm doing a lot of later on over on the bass line here, I'm doing a lot more sliding up sort of things going on here. So, and I'm gonna warn you here, this it's not the best sounding bass line. I still have to clean this up. So let's solo this and play. So I still have to clean that up and manipulate it quite a bit here. But I'll go into another video, and I'll show you some examples of where I'm going to be chopping this up and then resituating certain tones and notes into different areas. And but I won't be using that beat marker. I'm going to try different things first and see what the best approach is to chopping these down and sliding stuff and manipulating them so that we get the beats right, the tones right on the beat where I want it, and sort it out that way. So I won't be using that method of coming in here and using the resampling time stretching, because it just will not work that well. You can see it's best to be used on figuring out drums that have been brought in by audio instead of a MIDI. So it's best, if you're going to use MIDI drums, sort all that stuff out in MIDI first. Do all your quantizing and all that there. You're going to have a harder time quantizing it as an audio signal, although using that beat marker feature will help you a lot more with drum signal. With guitar signal, not so much. Even though in this, I'll come back here. Even though I'm just going to solo the guitar, and you'll listen to it here. Okay, so you can hear, yeah, there's definitely little jig 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 happening there, like a drum beat, but still trying to get the beat marker slicer to go in here and slice that up is going to be nearly impossible, because it's just going to go, what is this? Computers are smart, but no, not that smart. I could go in here and try it. Let's go ahead and edit this. Now the thing is, when you're into editing wave lengths of wave signals here, the longer it is, the harder it is to edit. If we go into, say, go back here, we're just going to go, I set this little drone thing at the end here. Whoop. This is a smaller wave signal in the end, and it would be a lot easier to do stuff on this signal than it would be on this really long signal in the orange up on top. I'm just pulling it back to stretch it out so you can see the whole thing all at once here. And it's easier to edit this guy than it would be to edit this big honking long thing that's 3 minutes long, right? Same with the solo pieces here. I actually did the solo here in 2 takes, and I took the best ending out of the 2 because I like this ending better. So all I did was I took it from another track and snuck it back up here. If you grab a signal from another area and drag it up here, the best way to do that, to get it onto another track without it moving up and down along here, is to go ahead and hold down the shift key as you do that. So just to let you know, that's the best way to move that over. You can hold down actually the control and the shift key, and instead of just moving this up here into wherever you want to put it and not having it move up and down on the timeline, just moving it to a different track and having it to superimpose itself over top of it. You can hold down the control and the shift, and it will duplicate that piece and drag it over on top, and you'll still have the original at the bottom. And this piece here, actually, I haven't rendered it. It's actually a long continuous thing that runs all the way through the song. I had recorded it before. It's kind of like my scratch track, but I like the ending of the scratch track here, which worked out really well. So I'm going to use that and blend it in to my redone guitar track that I had put up here. So some of the stuff that I'm going to do is that sort of thing, and work things around and get signals cleaned up. This solo here has a lot of artifacting in it, because when I recorded it, I'm using a tube effects, which actually uses a tube preamp with the 12AX7 tubes in it. And what that does is, when you let it warm up, it'll go through certain phases where the tubes will sound really warm, and sometimes they'll sound really kind of sharp. I like tubes because they react really well with the way that you're playing, better than the solid state, but you get a lot more noise, more hum, more buzz, more weird stuff going on with your tubes. As your tubes get hotter, they change tone a little bit, and you can actually hear that in the guitar work on here. You can hear it turn kind of warm in a section and then go back to a little brighter, and that's just the way tubes are. Even if you have like perfectly brand new tubes, you're still going to get that happening because your tubes are always changing slightly different in temperature and doing weird stuff like that. But I like the tone of tubes. Only on the preamp. I would not, me personally, I would go with solid state on the back end of all my stuff. So when I'm running power, I'm using solid state. So what I did was I ran my tube effects into a clean channel into my Fender Mustang, and running the Fender Mustang USB into my computer, and that's how I captured the signal for what I did here. A lot of times I just use the Fender Mustang instead because it's easy to get some cool tones and stuff like that. But for me, the response, especially when you're doing solos and stuff like that, you want to have certain tonal qualities in your solo that you just really can't get it in a solid state. The tubes have just a weird kind of way it shapes with what your fingers or pick is doing with the strings, so it comes out a little different. So that's all I'll have for this section, and then I'll get into a little bit more deeper stuff later on. This is a good 30 some odd minutes, so we'll talk to you on a different video. I'll post this one up and hopefully get the other ones up soon. Okay, thanks.